like 2 weeks ago and you're like, hey man, I got to get back to you in just a little bit. I got to put 5,000 people in a room in the next 30 days or something like that. And then you're like,
Yeah.
you just like disappear. We both have like those disappearing, reappearing personalities, and maybe that's why it works. But what would you say? I mean, the numbers you put behind things, it just blows my mind. I mean, even with my own challenge, right? You're running ads to my challenge. You're getting $3 registration. I mean, like crazy cheap, powerful things. What do you think the number one traffic or launching mistake is that comes to mind, that funnel people make? You know, when they start going to paid ads.
One thing that I always mention is, first off, most people like you have never ran ads before, right? So first problem is that people go to agencies that don't know what they're doing in the marketing world. Everyone knows this. There's a lot of snake oil salesmen out there. The agency space, the average retention of a client is 2.5 months for media buying agencies. And that's because most of them suck. That's one problem. If you have someone who's not, doesn't know what they're doing with your traffic, you're already setting yourself up for failure. But I think the biggest thing is people look at paid traffic with far too much simplicity. It's not, like you said, about just getting clicks to a page. And it's about the person that you're bringing to that page. And there's some foundational elements that I'm getting ready to launch a new campaign for our business, which is all about, are you ready for paid traffic? There's a lot of people, and this is, going back to the agency, saying that sometimes it's not the agency's fault. There's a lot of people that just aren't ready for paid traffic as well. And they think, oh, I can just turn on ads to this funnel and I'm going to make a lot of money. Two factors in that are really brand and offer are a huge component of that. If you have a weak brand or a weak offer and you try to run ads behind a weak brand and a weak offer, it doesn't matter what we do. We could be the most skilled media buyers ever. We're going to struggle with that. And I'm not saying it's not possible. You can also use ads to build up your brand, and there's strategies for that. And obviously, if you refine your offers and use paid traffic to test those offers, you can do that. But in terms of the process, it's going to be a lot harder than just turning on ads to something and having it work. So like when we first started out, we were running traffic for a lot of, smaller companies that were kind of starting up, didn't really have a brand established, didn't really have offers established, and we struggled a lot. Now, most of our clients, are more high profile clients that have very strong offers. So you kind of take that variable away, right? Like, okay, the brand is good, the offer is good. So there's got to be an opportunity for paid traffic. Still, people make that a little bit too simple because, again, it goes back to, let's run ads to this one webinar that's going to sell this product and it's going to convert. And that whole strategy really came out of kind of those top 1%. Like I use Dan Henry as an example, who absolutely crushed it with, one webinar, one offer, did $30 million with that strategy. I'm not saying that it can't work, but for most people, it's not the best approach to paid traffic. And especially as paid traffic has gotten more and more expensive, it's harder to make that model work. And another factor is that even if you can make that model work, why wouldn't you want to diversify your strategy in case it stops working? I've seen businesses that were reliant on traffic to one funnel and one offer that basically shut down overnight. Like when iOS changes happen, we have some of those clients that we're trying to build back up now because they had a singular strategy. And if it stops working, if your AOVs or your CPAs are going up or going down one way or another, like it can change everything. And you can't rely on getting the same numbers forever. There's a lot of variables of why that will probably get worse over time. Marketing gets better for a period of time as you test and tweak, and then it can start dipping over a period of time. And a lot of that is just the audience getting exhausted of the offer, or maybe your pool of, potential buyers. You kind of ran through them or whatever. There's a lot of variables. So what we teach is what we call a comprehensive marketing strategy. And it's looking at different pathways for prospects. And that's extremely important when it doesn't matter if you're doing a challenge, a webinar, a live event, a virtual event, you still want to diversify your marketing components and have a full-fledged strategy that takes people on different pathways. And the example that I use is, you and I probably consume content differently. You might be the podcast guy and maybe I'm the video guy, or I like to read, whatever. There's going to be different ways that we like to consume content. So if you use the example of a singular webinar funnel, well, you're only giving them one chance to consume your content. Like they have to want to sit down and watch a 1 hour webinar. So it's not the best approach. And then on top of that, if you're sending traffic directly to like a conversion funnel, which is what most people think they should do, and that's all they should do, you're really losing the opportunity to get that person to know, like, and trust you, to build up value before ever sending them to a conversion type funnel. So what we do is we diversify their marketing strategy. We run traffic to a multitude of different funnels that have different types of content for people who like to consume content differently. And it meets them at a different part of their journey. So examples are always good for this. So I'll give you an example. Let's say I'm trying to promote a product to you and you have no clue who I am. And again, I send you to a webinar that has a $5,000 product on the end. Well, probably not a good idea most of the time. We always have the people that can kind of, Roland Fraser calls this skip the line, the 1% that will maybe skip the line and they will be a good prospect for, a high ticket offer very quickly. But the 99% of other people just got pitched an offer almost immediately. They're probably not going to want to go back and look at more of your content. So why wouldn't you? For example, we have a strategy that I will share at your event. I'm not going to share right now, but
yeah, don't share it now. Go get your ticket, everyone.
Definitely going to share it at your event. But we have a strategy right now to acquire leads for sub $10 in most niches, even sub $5 in other niches, that guarantees we get both their email and their phone number at the same time. And then we put them through a sequence that's a multi-day sequence. And now what happens is we're acquiring leads for cheaper than most our competitors are acquiring leads. We're getting their phone number, which I would say a phone lead is about 5 times as valuable as an email lead, especially now because people don't read email as much.
Yeah.
Then we're taking that same prospect and we're sending them to a webinar funnel. So if that webinar funnel, it costs $15 to get someone to watch your webinar, which is roughly the average that we see for our clients. And I just acquired a lead for $5. And then on top of that, I gave them a bunch of free value because that's what this campaign that I'm not going to share specifics of does. It gives them a lot of value over multiple days and then send them to a webinar. Like it doesn't take a rocket scientist to realize that that is going to be a much better prospect to go into your webinar funnel. Plus you acquired them for cheaper. So that's kind of one example of what we do. If you can imagine like a customer journey chart and there's all these different pathways that someone can go through, you don't know what their pathway is going to be. You might show them this piece of content, this challenge, and they're like, I'm not going to go through a 5-day challenge, but then you show them this downloadable asset and they might prefer that. And you're moving them through this customer journey. And we all obviously use paid traffic to bolster that because that's a whole nother thing. But people kind of decide on if their marketing is working or not working very quickly without really getting traffic to it. So it's not statistically significant. You don't really know what's working or what's not working. So we use paid traffic to figure out what's working. And the same principles can work for organic. You're just going to have to get a lot of organic traffic to test these kind of things. That's essentially what we do. And then we build what we call a marketing ecosystem so that we have pathways for users based on where they're at in their journey, how well they know you, like you, trust you. And we use data to back up our decision making so that it makes it really simple. Hey, I'm not going to send direct traffic to this webinar. I'm going to send them to this funnel first and then direct them to the webinar. So when you talked about, getting the right people to the right funnel, that's very data driven. It's obviously strategy driven as well. But when we get that data, then we know where to send a prospect at any given time. And we maximize, ad spend, because if you're going to pay to acquire a lead, you want to be able to put them through multiple funnels. And the final example, and I'll stop there, that I talk about is free traffic. When you're running paid traffic, you can also get free traffic, because if I take a prospect and put them in this one funnel, I now can use my free traffic, emails, text messages, push notifications on their phone to send them into other funnels. So whereas you might pay $5 for this funnel, $15 for this funnel to get someone there, it might be, $6 from a retargeting ad, or maybe it's truly just $5 because you sent them an email or sent them a text. So we try to maximize the value of every lead. We call it squeezing the lifeblood out of leads. Like we want to make sure we exhaust every single lead because you're paying for that. So you've got to make sure that you maximize their value. So to kind of bring it full circle, talk about events and challenges and webinars, one of the ways that we're able to fill those up is because we're already warming these pools of people and providing them value before we ever send them to an event. And it doesn't mean we don't use purely cold traffic too. We absolutely do, but it helps bolster our results when we're putting warm traffic in there as well. And then we also have the benefit of, as we push warm traffic in there, just like you would with organic traffic, we're getting data and then improving what we can do for the cold traffic prospects. So maybe a little more detailed than I planned on going, but I think relatively easy to understand, I hope. So